These are marigolds that we seed started 10 days ago. Behind me are onions that we seed started 10 days ago. I'm going to show you a few clips of what we were doing when we seed started these and how we seed started these. And then we'll talk a little bit about these marigolds and these onions.
So we got our marigolds done and our asparagus done in this tray. And they need to be bottom watered. We always try to keep the soil moist, and it's important to bottom water so you don't get fungus on top of your soil.
So there we have it. Everything we got seed started is under the lights. We have the lights hooked to a smart timer, smart plug-in, so they turn on and off at a certain time, so we won't have to do that. First round of seed starting stuff complete.
Thanks for watching.
So these marigolds were started in a Jiffy seed starting soil mix. Nothing fancy, just seed starting mix and some perlite. Same with the onions. That's all we started them with. Nothing fancy this year, nothing. We don't have any worm castings or any of the other stuff right now, so that's why we did it this way. You can see that these are really grown. So about 2 days ago, we went through and Allison put 2 seeds per cell pretty much through all these. Now, my opinion is I don't like doing that. I think that it's a waste of seeds. Allison does do that. Everybody's got their own way. So we went through and we trimmed off the weaker, smaller looking seedling and left the bigger one. And the reason why we did this is so that way they have more room to grow. The water, the roots can get the more water, and they're not competing with each other. Now in the onions, we are going to leave multiple seeds in the cell. Same with the petunias. They're going to be easier to break apart, to split apart. The roots aren't going to tangle quite as bad, and it's not going to quite affect them like what we think it would with marigolds. So that's why we cut this weaker one and left the stronger one. So these are 10 days old. Hopefully they can stay in these little cells for about 4 to 5 weeks. That would be what we ideally would like to see. It's going to depend on how big and bushy they get, because if they're blocking each other for the grow light, we are going to have to get them in, pot up into bigger containers earlier. With the onions, depending on how big they get, we shouldn't have to pot up. Now the petunias, we will have to probably pot them up also, just so that way they're not blocking each other out. We will not fertilize these until about the 4 to 5 week, maybe the 6 week mark. Now I know that some people say that once they get their like 3rd or 4th set of true leaves, it's okay to fertilize them. We're gonna wait until about that 4 to 5 week mark. So when I'm talking about a true leaf, see how these are true marigold looking leaves, and those right there, and that one right there, those are what the start leaves, and those will eventually kind of die, and then you'll be left with the actual marigold leaves. Now you can see on these onions how the tops of them is the seeds, and they will actually fall off, and it almost looks like they're kind of dying, because they'll start to grow more shoots up, and it kind of looks bad at first, but it's all right. So we had pretty good germination on the red, but the yellow, it is very spotty. I'm not quite sure why, if it is an older seed packet or what the deal is. And we also have asparagus mixed in there, and I do not believe that there is any asparagus coming up yet. They take about 14 days-ish. So hopefully within the next few days we will see some asparagus coming up. So we also did a little experiment with sweet potatoes. This cup of sweet potatoes went out to the garage where it is about 50-55 degrees. The garage is heated, so they went in a windowsill, so they were getting a lot of sunlight but colder temperature. These have just been sitting pretty much on the desk here up until about 10 days ago. We moved them under the light, but these have been in since that 10 days. These are from what's been in about 70 to 72 degrees house temperature. You can tell how much better these look than these. We learned last year that sweet potatoes do not like to be planted in the cold. They obviously do not like to grow in the cold either. These look so much better. We have 2 cups of these, 2 cups of these, and you can tell the difference on all of them. They're sitting right back there. So, we learned that we're not going to store these in the garage. The reason why I wanted to do that is to make more room in here. So, we're going to have cold weather crops that we will be seed starting, hopefully, possibly this weekend. And that'll be like cabbage and cauliflower and all that stuff. Once they get 3 to 4 weeks old, we have a light setup similar to this that will go on folding tables out in the garage, and those should be just fine because they're cold weather crops. Actually, last year we put tomatoes out there. Last year we had about all kinds of stuff out there in the garage, and they did just fine. So it's just to free up more room in here. We only have 3 levels here, so we have lights above here, lights right here, and then lights down here, and it takes up, one of these takes up a lot of room. So we were just trying to make space. So we learned with sweet potatoes, no cold, leave them in the house. So with that, if you guys have any questions on marigolds, onions, or anything else seed starting, let me know. This is our 3rd year, I believe, seed starting. 1st year for flowers. So, well, we did marigolds last year. 1st year for petunias. So, we did marigolds and sunflowers. And we learned that we are not seed starting sunflowers because they get tall very fast. So, we learned that. So, with that, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe. It helps us out. And we will see you guys later.